Okay, very briefly, military career. I did my 6-year obligation, United States Marine Corps. I served in Vietnam. When I came to Israel, after basically being pretty disgusted by the way we were received when we returned from Vietnam, I joined the IDF, spent 25 years in the IDF, also in the professional army, in the border police, and also in Miluim, as a company commander, a executive officer of the company, as of course, a platoon leader. When I became a little bit too old to have combat duties, I went into intelligence work and worked undercover in intelligence using my American name and my American passport to pass for a non-Israeli. It was pretty early in the morning. I think around about 6:25. Well, normally speaking, I'd either be taking a bus or I'd be catching a ride into work, but this was Friday morning before the Shabbat. And there were just nobody was picking me up when I was going to Efrat. Walking on the left-hand side of the road, because you always want to face traffic just in case, it happens to be a terrorist so you can react, I started walking up there. It's only about a 10-minute walk. The shoulders of the road are fairly wide, except in one point where, because they didn't widen the road, since it would have taken a few meters of land from an Arab vineyard, so they allowed the actual road not to be widened. And there's a bumper, what do you call it, the guardrail there, and then a fence. Well, the Arab had been cruising around looking for a victim, evidently, and this I didn't hear about until afterwards when I was debriefed by the regimental commander. And still, I was keeping my eye on it, but and then when he was about 9 meters away from me, he swerved until he was almost just touching the guardrail. And looking at his face, I saw he had a big grin on his face, and he's coming for me. I do have a weapon. I could have drawn the weapon and been run over. I probably wouldn't have been able to hit him or shoot him in 4 seconds, because basically the only thing I saw is a grinning face with the grinning of the death head coming to kill me. So I said, well, I only have, and I'm thinking very calmly at this particular point, because of my training also as an officer in the Israeli army and also as a Vietnam veteran. I said, well, the only chance I'm going to have is if I launch myself towards the vineyard. So I made a 45-degree turn with my body, leaving my right side of my body exposed to the oncoming vehicle, and I jumped straight up in there in order to go over the fence. Well, obviously, I didn't jump high enough or fast enough, because he hit me on the right side of the body, not in my head, but from my shoulder down. And the force of the impact propelled me into the vineyards over the fence, about 10 meters in. And so I was making this sort of a keshet in the sky. At the apex of the keshet, I seemed to be covered in a white light. I don't know, it's not the first time I had a near-death experience. And I was thinking to myself, still quite clearly, am I dead? And I got the feeling that I wasn't that lucky. I was going to have to do more things for the Jewish people. Crashed into a stone, opened my head up here I lost about 1.5 liters of blood. And at this particular point, I'm laying in the cairn. The Arab is on his way out. He didn't stop. He was looking for another victim. And the first thing I thought is, I've got to report this. But I couldn't see my telephone because my eyes are totally, absolutely covered in blood, but I knew the general direction of the road. So I didn't know if I was able to walk or not, because I didn't know how badly I was hurt. So I tried to crawl on my hands and knees through the vineyards until I got to the fence. I pulled myself up on the fence, crossed over the guardrail, managed to bring myself to my feet, and a Jewish car came, so I waved it down. He pulled over. And he says to me, he said, what happened? Was there an accident? I said, it's not an accident, it's a terrorist attack. First thing you have to do for me is call the army and the police and report it. He's probably looking for another victim. After they did that, I said, the second thing, I'll probably need an ambulance because I'm losing a lot of blood. And he called the security people. And then he asked me, is there something else I can do for you? And I said, do you have a rag or something? And he said, no. I said, well, I got to stop the blood, so do you have a roll of toilet paper? And he said, yeah, I have them in the car. So I just lifted up my skin and crammed the roll into my head there to soak up the blood. And at that point, the vehicle came, the ambulance came, and so they said, let's take out the stretcher for you. I said, no, I walked into the ambulance in my own strength, and I laid down in the ambulance on the stretcher. So that's basically what happened. Later on. We did the debriefing with the regimental commander, who actually came here and I received a medal for, I think, clear thinking. He gave me a very nice medal, which is unusual for a civilian to receive from the military. And he told me that the Arab had evidently continued straight, made a left-hand turn on his way to the Gush Etzion summit. At that point, he saw the other victim, which also is from Kiryat Arba, crossing the street. Now, at this particular point, nobody saw him hit. They just heard the bang. And so the Hayalim had already cocked their weapons and were looking around, where's this bang coming from? The Arab stopped the car, jumped out with a knife and started trying to stab people to death. And this is where the Hayalim shot him 4 times. They found him in the trench. Got him out of the trench, and they sent him together with the Arab to Hadassah Medical Center. I didn't have the honor of being able to go into the hospital with my killer, or my attempted murderer, so I got to go to Shar Tzedek. That's basically what happened. I was lucky enough to have photographic memory, evidently, because I actually memorized the license plate when I was in the air, and I managed to get that information in to the police when we were doing Quran. Also made a total description of the face I saw, the grinning death head of the 17-year-old. And I just kept on thinking when I was looking in his eyes as he was coming to kill me in the car, this guy's thinking, hey Jew, you're a dead man. And I kept on thinking, not this time. Well, the Taylor Force Act, what's happening is the United States government is supporting our murderers and our attempted murderers with American taxpayer dollars. It's bad enough to fight for your country. It's worse when your country pays somebody else to kill you. So I find that to be rather difficult to swallow. I'm a patriotic American, obviously. But and I'm also patriotic Israeli. I love my country. The only thing I ever wanted from the United States was for the United States to love me as much as I loved the United States, which I didn't receive when I came back from Vietnam. None of us did. But at least don't pay people to kill me. Do something about that act. Do something now before the next vet's going to die. Because this is really one of the reasons why they go out and kill people. Because he get paid to do it. These are the hired guns of the Palestinian Authority being paid with American taxpayer money to kill Jews, to kill Americans. How can this be allowed?